You're watching the Eternal Tournament Series.
And welcome back, everybody. We are live with round 6 here. Again, this is Mark, aka Chibikawaii, with our co-host
Gabe, also known as Calimdir.
And we're bringing you Buckwheat versus childroland. So it's going to be a Felon Control versus Chalice. I'm very interested to see how this deck is going to, or how this matchup is going to end up playing out. And
yeah, this is a very interesting matchup. Also, we've seen both of these players on stream. Before we talk about that matchup itself, let's just talk about these players for a second.
Sure.
Buckwheat is like resident rank 1 ladder player. He's been rank 1 on ladder multiple times. And here he is on Felon Control. And childroland, not as accomplished of a ladder player, but he is the Season 4 Invitational Champion. So this is definitely a battle of two titans as far as the competitive community of Eternal. And both players are at 3-2 in Swiss. So whoever loses this match is out of contention for top 8.
Yeah, actually, no. I think you're 100% right. So there's definitely a high-stake match with two very, very talented players. If nothing else, that in itself should make it a very, very interesting match, barring, of course, Power Screw or Flood. But I don't think I've ever seen this matchup play out. What have you seen anything?
Yeah. Like so this is an interesting matchup because it revolves a lot around Azindel's Gift. Which I don't believe he is playing in the main deck. Let me check that really quickly.
No, I believe last time we looked, it is in the sideboard along with an Omen. So effectively giving him 2 copies of Gift.
Yeah, you're correct. Okay.
So
how do you feel about opening hands?
So let's see. So we did just see a mulligan by Buckwheat. Buckwheat's gonna need to draw some power, but he's got the double champions, the champions of cunning, which if he can get enough primal influence in order to give them flying, they might be enough to just kind of carry him home. Whereas I'm looking at childroland's hand, childroland only has did he keep a okay? So he does have the 2 power. He's gonna be able to get enough power. He's gonna be able to get off this wisdom next turn. This wisdom of the elders. I'm feeling like, I don't know. I'm feeling like Child might be in a slightly better position.
Yeah, so childroland has a very solid hand here. He has turn 3 Wisdom into turn 4 Chalice, and he's just got all the cards in the world. And he's got a Wasp #1 for a champion, potential champion. The Buckwheat's plan to win this game, right? He needs Champion of Cunning and he needs Vera, right? Those are the cards that win in the game. He can win with like Storm and Witch are helpful, right? Chalice does build up a threatening board of some sort, but mostly it is about getting that champion, right, and not dying to whatever units that Roland is playing.
Yeah, I completely agree. The only, I guess the Wasp definitely does clear up at least one of the champions. One of the things I will say about that, though, is we have seen Buckwheat play already today, and Buckwheat plays incredibly conservatively. So I would have a hard time imagining that he's actually going to be attacking with those champions until, well, and I could be very wrong here.
Yep. Yeah, you say that, and then he just slams the vanilla 5/5 champion right on curve. He doesn't care.
I was going to say, holding for an Annihilate or a Death Strike, but apparently YOLO. That's what we're doing here.
Yeah, I think the reason he chose that is because he has a second champion. I think he's just... And also, Roland is kind of going to be losing a lot of tempo, activating Chalice and stuff like that, so he's trying to push in as much damage as possible.
For sure. The Desert Marshal is a pretty nice pickup, and we're just going to see a Harsh Rule blow up the world, which I don't mind that. Is it 2 for 2? But not well. Actually, it's. I would argue it's a 2 for 1.75. Yeah. Because,
okay.
Well, because the Chalice was already able to activate. He is losing the Amber Acolyte, but the Amber Acolyte already got a power out of the deck, and it was the Chalice activated on it. So I'll give it 1.5. I'll give it 1.5.
Roland does not mind losing the Amber Acolyte at all. That's the thing he cares about least in the whole entire world.
All right, so we are going to see another favor be shot off from Roland. It's going to give him another Aegis. The Aegis on the player, that's not particularly
relevant? Yes,
impactful. Is it?
I don't think it is right now. I think
correct.
Post-board it is.
Yes,
actually.
post-board it is.
Yes. There's one other thing I want to talk about with this matchup. This matchup might end very quickly, but I was going to say on Roland's end, so on Buckwheat's end, we have the champion and the Vera combo to end the game. On Roland's end, you have mostly channel and then sometimes units. And Roland is main decking backlashes, and Buckwheat is not. And Buckwheat also, I don't know if he has Island Saver in his deck. So he's pretty soft to channel.
Yeah, that's and we do see a channel in Child Roland's hand already. We're power short, but the influence is there. So okay, all right, awesome. So then, yeah, what are we gonna end up seeing coming? Do we just see a pass of the turn here? Do you go ahead and pop the Aegis with the? Yeah.
You're talking about from Buckwheat's perspective. I think it's fair to develop maybe even the Harbinger. It feels bad because you want to Witch into Harbinger or something, but you're gonna have Witch, Vera, and feeding time. So that's already 2 threats you can eliminate, and you only really need to eliminate relevant threats like maybe a flying blocker or something like that. So I think developing the actual flying lethal threat is good here, and it forces the harsh rule, which is okay. It's just that Roland has card advantage, and he's got this channel coming down. So, wow, that's a powerful draw.
Another champion cutting off the top. This is almost going to force the. Oh, do you have to Tempest onto? Do you have to play? Wow, you might have to play Combri Healer, pop the Aegis, then next turn channel the Tempest on.
Yep.
Wow. So do you? Interesting. I almost would have played the Lumen Defender just to give myself a little bit of a life bump, but
I think drawing 2 is a little bit more valuable because you could potentially draw into a better answer than channel the Tempest.
Okay.
And you're not going to die this turn, right? So the life this turn doesn't matter, and the extra decision making, like the extra cards to make a better decision next turn, I think is more valuable.
Okay, no, I think that's completely fair. Yeah, because especially with the 3 life coming off of that, it puts him into 11. This would require all 4 of Vara's Favor to be in Buckwheat's hand, and we've already seen at least 2 Vara's Favor be played out of Buckwheat. So, I guess don't. So that line a little unrealistic. So yeah, leaving up the Wisdom Elders definitely does make a lot more sense.
Yeah,
and it's going to inflate the channel of Tempest. So maybe depending on what Child Roland draws, for whatever reason, there might be a reason to just dome instead of going straight to the face. Because we do see 3 Vanquish from Child Roland. I don't believe we've seen one played just yet.
So I think the reason Buckwheat paused for so long there is because Child Roland is specifically on 3 power, which is Wasp power.
And
so he just was really concerned about that. That's why he took so long to make the decision. But he found out there's no Wasp, and that probably is going to affect his decision next turn.
And I believe the pause. I guess the pause would have been in there. There's no other point where there would have been a pause for him to be able to tell that it wasn't a Wasp, right? Because the only pause would have been during blockers to fire off the Wisdom of Elders, which would have been the same as a pause for Scorpion Wasp.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So does Permafrost change anything?
Permafrost? Yeah, it does. I mean, he has a lot of deadly units. He can block ground blockers. Doesn't matter how big they are.
Yeah. So if he does permafrost well, basically what I was wondering is, do you permafrost the champion cunning and not play the channel on your on the champion? And if you take that line, you definitely need to make sure. And then so I guess if you take that line, right, you permafrost, then you play units, you exhaust those units, you don't leave anything up to block. Then the feeding time would have ended up coming in, and that's exactly what we're gonna see.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
He just didn't have the power for for Backlash there.
Yeah.
I think it was a reasonable line though. Like playing
Yeah.
channel sets him up much better for the rest of the game than trying to deal with the permafrosted champion.
Yeah, I think yeah, so the line there, yeah, it would have been permafrost, and then make sure that you leave back a blocking unit. Yeah, which, yeah, I feel like I don't know. Do you feel like that was like an intuitive line, or maybe not? It looked like it went a little back and forth.
Yeah, it's a little awkward. I'm also looking at deck lists too, so that's why it's hard for me to commentate on it. But
for sure.
I think that it wasn't super obvious. Like we're seeing both hands, right?
Yep.
And Roland is trying to work around what he thinks the opponent has, and he's not really expecting feeding time, right? He's more thinking about Death Strike probably, which has a pause. Feeding time is not a very commonly played card, so he's probably thinking, well, there was no pause for Death Strike. Unless there was a pause and I just missed it, but for some other
no, there wasn't a pause, but Annihilate would have done the trick as well, correct?
Yeah.
So I guess, and it is important to remember that
Annihilate did not kill a combo healer.
Was it a combo healer? I thought it was a 4/4 that was in play. Okay, so I might.
Yeah,
I
it was a 2/2 combo healer that got chaliced.
Ah, okay, that's right. Yeah, so yeah. So I guess the outs were pretty limited there. So it had to be basically the last Death Strike and or the feeding time.
So how do you feel about this matchup post board?
I don't know. Zendel's Gift is very, very scary, but the fact that Chalice is going to have, like, Roland is going to have what two favors, so 2 ways to get the. He's going to be able to give himself Aegis a good chunk of the time. He's going to be able to gain some life, and realistically, he's going to be able to establish a decent board presence. I don't know. I think I'm slightly in favor of phone control still, but I don't know. The Stand Together seems pretty good. Great Parliament seems pretty good. Sandstorm Titan seems all right. I don't know. I could easily see this going multiple different ways. Because I'm just looking at the Buckwheat's also got the Suffocates. Suffocates. Do you leave the Suffocate in if you're Buckwheat?
I don't really think it's that valuable.
Yeah, so, I mean it's great in the earlier
He took him out, right? He took out Suffocate, right?
Yes, I do not see them in his list anymore. Which I think makes sense. It looks like he was mousing over his Eye of Winter, which is an interesting choice, but it actually does turn the unit off from being able to be chaliced, which is not entirely irrelevant.
Yeah, I'm mostly in agreement with both of their sideboard choices after seeing them sideboard. So I have some opinions on this matchup as somebody who doesn't like Chalice and enjoys Felon Control. Chalice is, I think, favored in game 1 outside of heavy Champion of Cunning draws, which is what we saw in game 1.
Yep.
And post board, I think Felon Control is favored. Chalice can absolutely win the counter, the negate, like the Backlash War.
Yep.
And come out ahead there and just channel the Felon deck to death. But having access to Omen, having access to the same amount of backlashes, having more relevant threats, and having a card that just wins you the game on the spot in Zendel's Gift, I think just gives Felon the edge slightly.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And also interesting because like Felon Control last time I was actually playing around with it had staff in it, so it was able to get a little bit of card advantage that way. It looks like Buckwheat is not playing that. What's your opinion on that?
So staff has kind of fallen out of favor for a while, mostly due to the change where it got changed from a 05 to an 04, and due to a lot of decks. And it goes off when your opponent has no answer for it. Is one of the best draw. It's probably the best draw in the game. But you just play Tempest.
Yeah, and so which definitely makes sense. It looks like both players have started in there. And I apologize. I'm having a little mic issue with Gabe. I don't know if not. It very well could have.
You sound a little bit crazy to me. So one of us is crazy. I'm not sure which one.
Fair enough. But it looks like both players just started. We do see the Felon Bloodcaster in play here, coming down from Buckwheat. So that's going to gum up the board quite a bit, at least for early aggression. But childroland not really having anything coming out of his hand early on. So I'm so it makes sense that we're playing the Sandstorm Titan. The Sandstorm Titan going to get answered by the Death Strike, and realistically would have had a tough time getting through that Steward of the Past. Granted, childroland does have the Permafrost in order to be able to, put a hold on the Champion Pass. Interesting too is the ultimate on Felon Bloodcaster. It does not require you to exhaust the unit. So even a Permafrost on the Felon Bloodcaster is ultimately going to allow Buckwheat to still use that ultimate. Buckwheat hurting a little bit on power. I think he was really hoping to draw a little bit with that Chalice and the Black Sky Harbinger sitting in hand. He does still have his Death Strike up, so if childroland goes for like an early Great Parliament, that's not actually going to be that big of an issue, but I can't imagine that childroland is going to really force that out. So we are seeing an attack for one, which is interesting, right? And then we also have the leaving up the Desert Marshal to be able to silence the Felon Bloodcaster if he wants, but again, not Felon Bloodcaster. If Buckwheat was at 6, I think it makes a little bit more sense. He's going to go ahead and do it here after attacks. That way he doesn't 2 damage isn't that big of a deal, and now the damage race is in favor of Buckwheat, at least initially, especially with this Scorpion Wasp Raw.
Yeah, now in Roland's favor.
Yeah. Now I have to imagine that we're going to see the Great Parliament come down next year from childroland, because the ability to make the 2 owls is pretty big. Gabe, it sounds like we're back in action.
Oh yeah. I've been here. I've just been listening to your sweet voice.
Oh, it's some would say the nectar of I have no idea where I'm going with it.
It's okay. At the beginning of the game was going kind of exactly how Buckwheat wanted it to go.
Yeah.
Right. He got some early aggression in a deck that doesn't really need early aggression and isn't very aggressive. So it's just a little bit of extra icing on top of everything. Oh wow, and this is turning around really fast for Buckwheat, getting that 6 power.
Yeah, getting the 6.
But it's also kind of going the way Roland wants him to, in that he's just trading cards and slowly getting card advantage and not dying.
Yeah, and the 2 Great Parliaments of childroland hand, I think, are real kind of bookenders on this, because he's going to have to start doing something relatively soon, because childroland is only at 5 life. And as much as I joke about the first favors, like when you start getting into that 2 to 3 life realm, it's kind of rough. However, he's got 2 combat healers in hand, so that's good for 6 life gain on childroland's part, and as well as 2 Lumen Defenders. 2 Lumen Defenders is 10 life. So he's got a total of 16 life gain in his hand if he should need it. And we do see the Great Parliament coming out. So we have 2/4/4 owls, Death Strike, and a Buckwheat. So there's not a huge. All right, so I think we're gonna see Witch come down.
Yeah, so I think over, and I don't think Roland raises how he is. He realizes he's not away from. My life is fine. Like, and keep the units. I have a million answers. But Buckwheat bricked on power several turns in a row, and now he's fine. Roland is finally getting the chance to play these healing spells, these life gain units, and that is going to put Buckwheat in a really difficult spot. He still is at 29 life and has 2 channels, which is definitely lethal, but it's rough.
But it's very close to not being lethal. He's going to draw 1 card for the turn, but that would have to be the power. He'd have to play that card at that point. So then he's leaving 5. He's actually, even with the 2 channels, he's only at 9, right? Or no, excuse me, he's at 13 damage, so he doesn't even have lethal right now.
Yeah, he just needs to draw one card. I guess you're right. And one of the first card he needs to draw is a power. So yeah, you're right.
So and now he's all right. Well, the Wisdom of the Elders definitely helps. The Sabotage is going to be pretty good here. It's going to be able to get rid of that Great Parliament. All right, we're back in it. We're back in it, boys.
Yeah, this is looking pretty interesting. I think Buckwheat, like 19 life is just too much.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it's not like childroland's putting Buckwheat under very much pressure, though, right?
Yes, it's just 2 people drawing 3 cards back and forth right now for a few turns.
Yeah, so he's gonna draw. Buckwheat's gonna draw another one. He's gonna channel here, so that's gonna deal 6. So we're at 13. Something's gonna have to get. Oh, Buckwheat though getting the favor. So if he fires off that favor next turn, that's going to help play around at least Chalice, Channel, finishing him off. And then, all right, this Black Sky Harbinger too. Ooh, all right, we're back in a game. I'm awake again. It's a good thing. All right, so we can see Channel the Tempest. I'm okay with it firing it off. It's a 5/5. Now next turn he can play. Actually, yeah, next turn he'll be able to play a Harbinger and his Witch to clear up the board.
That so backlash is very late.
Yes, it is. Wowie, wow. All right, so we got a clean board. The backlash not going to be doing a ton anymore. Here's the Withering Witch. He's going to be able to play the Combray Healer for sure, which is going to put him up to 7 and give him a blocker. He draws another Combray Healer. But
yeah, so this game is looking very rough for Roland.
Yeah.
Buckwheat is out card drawing the card draw deck. He's just drawn more copies of Channel, more copies of.
Oh, and here's the backlash. Oh, we're gonna have a backlash, little counter fight.
Oh my goodness.
All right. So then, yeah. Oh wow, childroland going down to 5. He's on a 2-turn clock now. Oh no, with the Vara's favor. Oh my goodness. There we go.
That's game. That is game right there.
You thought I was joking about Vara's favor last turn.
So that is Buckwheat moving on 2-0 over Roland.
Wow.
And I don't think there's a backup match. I believe. Let me check if all the games are done in this round. That was a really good match, honestly. Both games were very good.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, that was it got a little froze up a little bit there in that game too. But wow, that was a very exciting finish to that. Very exciting.
Roland was really hoping to draw Chalice that game, and he just couldn't get it.
Yep. Wow. Excellent. So yeah. So since we did you have any topics you wanted to run, Gabe?
Well, since we have only one other matchup going on, let's talk about the standings really quickly. What are your thoughts on it? You have that open?
Yeah, let me go ahead and refresh here really quick since ad blocker is not working. So we do see Tony picking up a loss. Wow. So this is
to the Mono Justice deck, which kind of makes sense because Rakano type decks, Aegis focused flying decks, are notoriously good against Felm control.
Yeah. Wow. All right. So it looks like we have 5 people that are firmly cemented. I'm quite sure. What is the last match that we're waiting to finish?
It just finished. It was Hythar versus Idwe Onquet.
Okay.
And Hythar took that, putting him at let me check. Putting him at
in
4-2.
So it puts Hythar in 8th, it looks like.
Well, okay, so
that's right. The standings are a little bit off. So my apologize. Didn't mean to cause any sensationalism. So the people that we do know that are going to be in top 8 are going to be the Ski J, Tiger, Ilugana, Irene Mines, and Tony G. Ilunga. Yes. Yeah. So we still have hope of seeing the mono green match.
Yep.
Everybody loves Mono Justice.
So Ski J is actually the only player there that I we haven't talked about, I think, because we saw Bradykin, we saw Tiger, we saw Buck, we saw everybody except for Ilunga and Skij, and we've talked about Ilunga's Modern Justice list. Skij is on surprisingly Burn Queen.
Yes, I was just about to say, definitely a known quantity for the tournament series and just leaderboard in general. See him around quite a bit. So not again, not surprising that we see him towards the top.
Just like to casually point out that there are 3 confirmed SPG players in the top 8, but who am I?
I'm calling some sort of conspiracy. There's an announcer. There's like most of the top 8, or like a good portion of the top 8 rather. I don't know. I'm calling shenanigans.
But yeah, we'll find out our official top 8 after a break. They got to run the numbers, figure out all the opponent win percentages and everything. But we do have those confirmed 5 players: Tony G, aReNGee, Ilunga, Tiger HC, the Skij, and that's it. That was it.
Yeah.
There was no other one. Almost started Bradykin. Congratulations to those 5 players to making it to the top 8. We'll find out after a short break.
Sure.